So good morning, everyone. It is now 9:02 in Central European time. So we'll get started. So warm welcome to today's market discovery workshop focused on the Italian market. We're really thrilled to have all of you with us today. And our focus will be on exploring the vibrant Italian startup ecosystem, the investment landscape, and of course, some key legal and market considerations that we hope can help you succeed in entering or launching your business in the Italian market. So this workshop offers a fantastic opportunity for you to gain valuable insights from experts. I will share with you soon who will be joining us throughout today's session. But you will also learn a little bit more about the resources available to you as an entrepreneur to actually grow your business. And most importantly, hopefully you will get a few new names to connect with as fellow innovators. And if you have any questions throughout the session, please feel free to just leave them in the chat. And if we have time, we'll try to address them as the session proceeds. So before we get into the agenda of today, to just get us started, I'd love to hear from you, a small check-in exercise. Love to hear from you about your experience with the Italian market. So I just posed a question here. How would you describe your previous experience working in the Italian market? Is it none, or maybe limited or extensive? And if you can also share just briefly your role and goals in those engagements. So this will perhaps help to tailor today's discussion to your needs. But feel free to just leave an answer in the chat. It can just be one word or a few words, whether you've had some experience before in the Italian market. I can just tell you about myself. I've previously launched a carbon footprint tracking technology company where we entered the Italian food market. And I can say that was both challenging because it had a very, very strong connection to cultural roots, but also amazing to get to take part of the universe of culinary experiences that is the Italian food culture. Can see here if the chat. Yeah, please just use the chat if you want to post some comments about your experience. But we will move on in the meantime. So as you're hearing right now, I will be the one introducing this session. So I'm Henrik Hansson. I have a background both as a founder, but also working with venture capital investments, and then also working with international development organizations on blended finance topics. But today I will be your host, and I'm really happy to be that. And I currently work with Impact Hub together with my colleague Alexandra, who is also on this call. Alexandra, do you maybe want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. So happy to see you.
Great. So I'll explain a little bit our goals for today's workshop and provide an overview of the Seeds of Bravery program in this next 5 minutes and the opportunities that this program comes with. After that, we'll hear from Andrea Orlando from startup Wise Guys, who will give us a deep dive into the Italian investment landscape. After that, we have Sasha Komarevich from Bocconi University, who will provide insights into the Italian startup ecosystem, key players, sectors, and opportunities to tap into working from a university innovation incubator. Later on, we will also hear from Marco Nannini, who is a fellow colleague of ours from Impact Hub Milano, who will focus more on the impact ecosystem and the central hub for that space. Then we'll take a short break before we will hear from David Pinsale about the Italian ICT market from an entrepreneur's point of view. And finally, we will have DLA Piper, our legal partner, who will wrap things up with a legal overview of the Italian startup landscape. And after that, I will actually just conclude with a few closing remarks on how you can go forward with the Seeds of Bravery program. So let's dive in. So just briefly, if you don't know about Seeds of Bravery from before, It's a EU-funded project under the European Innovation Council. It runs over 2 years, and we're actually approaching the end of the first year. And the goal is to support some 400 Ukrainian tech startups, along with researchers and journalists. Who are we doing this then? We are actually a consortium consisting of 17 organizations and 2 associated partners. And this can sound like a lot, but it's actually a very, very helpful and resourceful group. So we both have Ukrainian partners, such as Ukraine Startup Fund and Innovate, but we also have partners spread out across Europe that can provide both a deep local market knowledge, but also connections in those markets to investors or to potential business partners. So we hope that we can offer you some support in that if you're interested in applying, of course, or if you're already part of the program. Apart from that, we also have some exciting funding opportunities available through the Seeds of Bravery program. We have what we call innovation services, which includes grants up to 10,000 euros to improve business models and growth strategies. We have entrepreneurship grants up to 25,000 euros for business continuity and also to establish women-led businesses. We also have what we call deep tech incubators, and this depends on the technology readiness level, which you can look at on the website. This includes up to 25,000 for early stage startup focused on prototype validation and pre-MVP task. And we also have the deep tech scale-up grants up to 50,000 to scale successful prototypes and expand market research. And we also have the Rebuild Ukraine grants up to 25,000 for innovative products and services aimed at post-war reconstruction. We'd like to see these grants as excellent opportunities, and we hope that you do too, depending on which stage you're at to actually continue your development as an entrepreneur and as a business. So I encourage you to really explore which one might find your business needs on our website. Abi, maybe you can post the website in the comments, or sorry, in the chat. Thank you. So apart from grants, we also offer non-financial services through matchmaking with investors, potential clients, mentoring, deep tech acceleration, go-to-market strategies, and other support services. So that is the UA Seeds program in a nutshell. Just quickly, the organization that I represent, one of these 17 partners, is Impact Hub. So Impact Hub is one of the largest global networks supporting impact-driven entrepreneurs with over 100 impact hubs across 55 countries and 5 continents. We also have local presence in Ukraine. And I just also wanted to share with you the next cutoff dates for applying to the program. I'll come back to this at the end of the session. So the next cutoff date is actually the 21st of October for the Business and Innovation Grant Program, and 25th of November for all the other programs. So please just visit the website and apply today if you haven't already done so. And with that being said, I'd like to hand over the floor to Andrea from Startup Wise Guys. Andrea, are you with us?
Yes. Good morning.
Perfect. Good
Good
morning.
morning, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Andrea. I will stop sharing my screen so that you can take over the presentation. Is that all right, Andrea?
Of course. Of course. So good morning, everyone. We have a few minutes together. I'll try to make it worth it for you. Let me go ahead and share the screen. It should be this one. Yes. You should be able to see my presentation, right?
Yes, we see it. You can open it in slideshow mode.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Okay, so good morning from rainy Milan. I don't know where you guys at, but I hope weather is not the reason you want to come to Italy, because we hadn't had nice weather for the last few weeks, and it started to become annoying, to be honestly. But I'm not here for weather forecasting reasons. I'm here to talk about the Italian attractiveness. And so, first of all, a few words about me. Um, my name is Andrea Orlando, and please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Just remind me where we met, because I receive a little bit an overwhelming amount of requests. So it's always good to put a context. I'm an investor and entrepreneur. I'm from Italy, but I got back to Italy 3 years ago to launch Startup Wise Guys, which is an accelerator and an investor. Startup Wise Guys, most of you may know because it's quite active in Ukraine. We have several startups invested from that region. I also personally have 2 startups invested from that region. Startup Wise Guys is an accelerator from 2012, active from 2012. 50 programs, 500 startups invested, creating a lot of impact in Northern, Eastern, and also Central and South Europe. Before being an investor and an entrepreneur, I was in corporate. I mostly work in strategy, in heavy industry. And yeah, and then I started Wise Guys in Italy in 2020. And now the portfolio is, now the fund is fully invested. So I'm mainly taking care of the portfolio, and I got back to my entrepreneurship life. In fact, I joined one of the startups of the portfolio, and I'm working basically full time with them, helping them developing and moving forward. And my background is mainly business. Before Italy, I was living in Scandinavia, but I also lived in a few other countries around Europe and the world, mainly through my corporate career. Yeah, that's pretty much it about myself. And we're here a little bit to talk about Italy, some key consideration about the ecosystem. So, as any other ecosystem, for startups interested in developing the Italian ecosystem, of course, especially from a fundraising financial standpoint, it will very much depend on your maturity. And so you will be able to fundraise from very pre-seed until Series C, maybe Series D in Italy, depending on how much traction, how much value you bring for your investors. The accelerator scene in Italy has seen quite an acceleration because thanks to our, you want to call it National Investment Bank, or yeah, it's a national institution that takes care of the public savings and invests these savings into several activities, amongst which there is venture capital. So thanks to this bank, there have been approximately now 20 accelerator working in Italy. So for all the startups, pre-seed and seed, there is an opportunity there. I think I should make ahead a little bit of clarification, right? So for any entrepreneur, for any startupper, a country as a potential target for development has to make sense, both from commercial and financial standpoint, right? So it's very unlikely that you will come to Italy and you will raise funds from one of these players without having any interest in developing the Italian market. The Italian market, it is an interesting market. We are now the third European economy, in the second manufacturing one. Our GDP this year is growing, so there are interests for companies to be here, especially for startups because we are very much longing for innovation and for disruption. There are so many low-hanging fruits that makes it interesting for any startups to address one of the many problems that we have here with this digitalization and innovation, right? And so my point being that there has to be a commercial or business development interest for you to come here that then you can match with a fundraising opportunity. Because investor, doesn't matter what size they are, what ticket they invest in, they will look at you as an opportunity for the country, for themselves, right? And so the very first question I should ask myself before coming to Italy is, does it make sense for my strategy, for my startup, to develop the Italian market, right? There are also tax incentives for the investors to invest, but for that to happen, there has to be either an Italian legal entity or a European legal entity with an Italian operation, which could be a branch or a subsidiary. And I don't want to go too much into details. You're very welcome to contact me and ask me questions. But there are also cases where investors have invested in non-European Ukrainian startups, for example, or Turkish startups, even if the conditions for tax incentives were not there, right? So I hope my point about matching commercial and business development opportunity and fundraising opportunity is clear enough. We only have a few minutes, but I'm happy to take questions if there are any. I cannot read the chat, so if any of the hosts can read the chat and ask me questions, I'll be happy to do that. We can move forward, and this is in Italian, but I'll try to make my example clear in English as well, right? Because if there is a fit from a commercial and business development point, then you might as well ask yourself, okay, what does it make a startup attractive enough? And these considerations apply pretty much to any ecosystem, and more than any to the Italian ecosystem, because it's an ecosystem which is being developed. More or less, we have an amount of yearly investment in startups between 1 billion and 2 billion. This is the amount that we saw from the last 2 years. 2024 is growing, so hopefully we'll catch up with the major ecosystems like France and Germany and UK. So, but what makes it attractive for a startup to be invested by investors? And so there have to be metrics, there has to be the team, the technology, how much capital you raised, how much big is the market, how good are you in execution, and how is scalable the product. And why I'm saying this, because of course you come here, you are a pre-seed startup, and you intend to raise 50K or 100K. Well, you need to understand that if you're not an Italian team, and if people cannot relate to you because you're well known and you have a brand that can be acknowledged within the Italian ecosystem, then you really have to pitch based on the other strengths that you may have in your startup, right? You have an amazing technology, right? Okay, so maybe your team is not of Italian founders, that's okay, but your technology is so amazing that it makes sense for an Italian investor to bet on you. Or you have a market which has been underestimated by any other potential business, but you nail the market, which is huge. You have great opportunity for scalability, right? So we're not discussing pitching techniques today. What I guess my message is that, like any other market, we have an appetite for talent and for amazing teams. You just have to make sure to understand and to cover the cultural gap that there can be in an ecosystem which is underserviced like ours, which is on its way to be developed, and which could be a good reference point, whether you're looking for commercial development or business development. Is there any question at this point? Guys, are you alive? Is anybody there? I hope so. I hope I'm not talking to myself.
We're keeping an eye on the chat, Andrea, but so far you're crystal clear.
Yes,
Okay.
but we have questions.
We have one question here. If you could recommend an Italian accelerator for robotic startups on pre-seed and seed stages.
So I cannot recommend any in particular. I think startup-wise, guys, at the moment, the Italian fund is not investing with Italian fund in Italy because the fund is fully invested. And so there are a couple of things you can do. There are 2-3 acceleration programs which are generalists, and so you can apply to them. The deal that they offer may change. Sometimes they may offer 100K in investment and ask for 10, 20, 30K, more like 30K for the program. Sometimes a little bit more, a little bit less. So there are few accelerator privately run which are generalist. Or if you fill up for the task, you can apply to one of the CDP accelerators, which are, let's say, a consortium between private and the public. Why do I say if you fill up for the task? Because you need to meet the requirement of being an Italian legal entity, right? So you need to set up a subsidiary in Italy, and then if you have a company already in another state, then that will mean that you need to run 2 companies at the same time, right? And that's okay. If the opportunity is big enough, you may do that. And there are no, of course, other preclusions for you to apply to an accelerator. But you can find accelerators on the CDP website, CDP, Cassa Depositi and Prestiti. There is the whole list of the 20 accelerators that they run. And there may be one on manufacturing and robotica. There was one in the northeast of Italy. Its name was Industrio. I don't know if it's still running, but I can check it up for you and revert back by messaging Alexandra. Yeah. So moving forward, every year I do this a little bit of exercise about mapping the Italian ecosystem. You can find it on my LinkedIn page, or I'm happy to send the PDF copy so you can print it out and hang it in your bedroom. So before you go to sleep, you pray to the Italian gods of venture capital. I'm just joking. And so, what can I say? So thanks to this particular historical moment, we see an increase in seed and venture capital funds. I think if you rule out those who have a mixed investment thesis, or those who are a little bit of consultancy and a little bit of investor, I think it's fairly safe to say we have approximately 20-25 venture capital funds, and my guess is that 10, 12, 15 of these funds invest in C-ticket, but they would require at least 35 K of MRR, 30,000 euros of MRR, right? To have some sort of solid traction. But you can also refer to accelerators. I see that there is a Sasha here from Bocconi for Innovation. That's one of the great accelerators that our country has to offer. And there are many others, right? The deal is usually based on the business model. They offer approximately between 50 and 100K in exchange also of a fee for the accelerator program. We have business angel networks. We have a couple of them which are really strong. One is Club degli Investitori, and the other one is Italian angels for growth, but we have many. The startup that I joined recently received an investment from Angels for Impact. I know Angels for Women are very active if there is a woman co-founder. You're also very free to connect with the Business Angel Networks members. If you like to ping them individually and ask them if they're interested in investing in you, you're very welcome to do that. I would like to close because we have 3 minutes left with my, it's not secret sauce because it's not so secret, but with my final advice on how to fundraise in Italy, very much, but this applies for any ecosystem. I call it the 3P strategy. So 1P stands for projects, right? Which is your startup, your vision, the way you want to change the world. We can generally call it project. The other P stands for pitch, which means that you need to be able to present and pitch this project. And the third P stands for persons. You need to be able to pitch this project to persons that will be able to help you with funds, with some gate openings and similar. How do you find these persons? With networking. So there are many possibilities for networking. In Italy, there are minor events, there are major events, there are mainstream events. I would do some research and I would say, if I'm interested, if my startup is in robotics and I should be interested in somebody that invests in robotics, maybe I can attend some events that have that topic, and maybe I can start mingle and pitch there. Or if my startup is in B2B SaaS, I can start attending the many SaaS gatherings that there are around Italy and flirt a little bit with some investors and maybe also with other founders to get some insights, right? This is a long-term project. It doesn't take 1 month to raise funds in any ecosystem, but in Italy more than ever. These depending on your maturity and your ability to your experience, your previous experience in raising funds, it may take 6-9 months, right? So you need to make sure you have enough budget and enough timeline to approach this in the most efficient way. Okay, my time is up. I hope this was okay. I will stop sharing the screen. I could not see you guys because I was presenting, but I hope it was okay. I hope you got some value out of it. It certainly was fun for me to go through these things for you.
Perfect. You kicked off the workshop in a really nice way, Andrea. So thank you so much for providing that overview and a few very concrete steps. We have companies here from prop tech sector. We have companies from robotics. So you heard now from Andrea. Try to find your events and sort of the forums and networks that make sense for you, but prepare in time, as Andrea said. It takes time to raise funds. Okay, Andrea, I know that you need to go now, 9:30 sharp. So thank you so much for joining this session. And please reach out to Andrea on LinkedIn. We share this LinkedIn here.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much. Good luck, everyone. I keep my
Yes.
fingers crossed for you guys. Take care. Ciao, Sasha.
All right. And on that note, I'd like to welcome Sasha from Bocconi. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you, Alexandra. Доброго ранку, всім привіт. I will switch to English to present. So, guys, it will be, I believe, the very short my session, but I will be open for the quick Q&A. So I hope to have questions that I'm not going to give you in my presentation. So my name is Sasha Komarevich, originally from Ukraine, but I moved to Italy 15 years ago, and I'm portfolio manager in B4I Fund. And now I will tell you how university support entrepreneurs through the program. So I will share my screen. So today, Bocconi is one of the biggest economic universities in Europe and one top university in Italy. So we have around 15,000 students, and it's economics, it's MBA students, it's also legal students. What we decided to do 5 years ago to start the program that can support entrepreneurs at the very early stage. So today in my presentation, I will tell you in general overview about what is Bocconi for Innovation, our programs that we have, our community, and as well Q&A, any question that you have. So Bocconi 5 years ago started creating the hub for talented entrepreneurs and university students who want to develop their new business. So it's not only for the Bocconi, it's open for anyone. You can be registered anywhere. It shouldn't be Italian legal entity. It could be anywhere and any country. So we have 2 programs. Then I'll go in details on the next slides. So registration, it's one the just idea, the entity. We don't give the investment, but we give the support. And acceleration, where we invest 50,000 euros cash, and we take the equity. And then plus additional services that will be explained later. Plus, we work on the community, so it's that part of the how university in general support the ecosystem. Our mission is to lead the Italian innovation ecosystem by supporting startup entrepreneurs and with a focus on the talented university students or alumni. Because of the long story, more than 100 years in the educational field and MBA field, and the university was founded by the entrepreneur. It's based in Milan, but we have also the space in Rome. We have a global network of alumni, and that part, it helps entrepreneurs in general if they want to open the spaces, open their business in different countries, so they can reach their alumni, even if they were not, if the entrepreneurs were not Bocconi students or alumni. So in this way, B4I leverages all the global network of the university to support. We support that is mainly business knowledge. So if your startup in robotic field or it's in another tech field, we can help you when you already have the prototype and you need to understand about more the business. It's a business model, financial, how to speak with investors. We can't help on the technology experience, but there are other, in general, accelerators, university accelerators in Italy that can support on that one. One of them is a Polytechnical University in Milan, as well in Turin. So it's they have the hubs that support startup at that field. Plus, we have the connections, and we offer the best-in-class experts. Since our start in March 2020, when the COVID hit, we started everything online. We supported through programs. We have programs twice per year. So we support in general all the figures. It's 500 entrepreneurs, 56 startups accelerated. So where we invest money. And then we have the metrics that we check to understand how it's going, like B4I. So we manage as well how many jobs were created and how many funds were raised after the program is finished. Plus the sustainability metric, how many of the companies were benefit corporation or big corp created after they changed the status afterwards. Other insights, because of the network, we leverage the knowledge of the experts, mentors. It's more than 230 mentors around the world. So it's about the go-to-market strategy, business, fundraising, marketing, legal, any part. As well, we have the tech experts, but the mentors. Additionally, we have the alumni angels. So it's a Bocconi alumni who become angels. So they invest in the startups who finish the programs. We organize the events for them where startups who finish the programs can present their ideas. Additionally, we have perks. So Google Cloud, HubSpot, and other companies that can support you having the discounted services or free services. And we have the co-working space that is free even after the program that finishes, because it's a limited space. At the moment, everything works. So when the company grow, they move to another space. There are some of the companies, mainly here, there are Italian unicorns. There is a Casavo, Bending Spoons, Satispay, Motork, and plus we have the speakers from other companies that can support and leverage their knowledge and network. That the last batch that we have, like finished the call for the new batches that finishes 1 month ago, just to let you see the metrics from which universities in Italy, and there are also other universities, we received the application. So it's not only for Bocconi. So if you see Bocconi University, it's Da Bocconi. So it says Da Bocconi, it's a business school where we have MBA. It's just like 28%. But then we have around all the Italy, plus additionally outside of Europe and as well from Africa we have. In past, we had Ukrainian founders who applied for the programs, infra acceleration and acceleration. Some of them were already living in Italy. Unfortunately, we didn't select them because of the selection process, where we can, and on the next slides, I will explain you more how many startups we take and how we invest. But we had already some applications from Ukraine, so we'll be happy as well to have your application in case. So pre-acceleration, so where we have ideas stage, founders, they need to be at least in 2, not registered the company. You apply to understand if your idea making sense, if you want to create a startup, if you want to leave your job or you want to leave your studies. So it's a hybrid program. It's a part-time. We do 3 months. Right now we started, so it's from September till December, and the next will be from February till the May. In that one, we take 15 startups. We are agnostic, so we take all the startups that can be, and we give the support to speak with the mentors. So every startup has 2 mentors, one vertical and another one horizontal, according to the startup, what they're doing. If you're, I'm just saying, if you're a robotic startup, we will find you what you need. It's about sales or anything, what you say. If you're a software startup as well, we will understand what you need to pair with the mentors. Additional, there are content part every Saturday. We have sessions about the legal, marketing, fundraising, anything. And it's a network of the university as well. You can use it. At the end of the program, we have the demo day. We select 5, 6 startups out of 15 because they reach the level of the readiness. So they have the MVP. So for us as well, is a result if at the end of the program, founders decide, okay, startups is not for us, we will move for the next one. Acceleration, it's well ready. We have teams who are legally, who have a legal entity. They have the first validation. If you're, it depends what it means, like a validation. If you're a startup in deep tech, we need to have your TRL tech readiness level at least at 4, where you have the prototype, so we can support you on the business and present with investors. If you're a software business, we need to see how much time you put since the beginning to validate your business. It's like 1 month ago, so it could be just 100 users that are using your prototype demo. If you're already using, started 2 years ago, it's better to have at least 1,000 MRR. Here we take between 6 and 8 startups twice per year. The batches is 4 months. Investing 15,000. We take between 2 and 5% equity. Our investment agreement is open. It's on the website. It's like YC safe. Plus we're agnostic, so we invest in different types of the startups. And our goal is to support you to scale up. So we work with mentors, agile methodology, Scrum, how to set up the business. Plus, we have the support of the fundraising. So at the end of the program, you have the demo day as well. But during the program, we organize VC office hours where you can meet the VC international and Italian in the friendly way. You can ask any question about them. Plus, it's 90% of the founders who do the acceleration program are the first-time founders. We had some startups from the founders with experience, so they apply because they want to open the Italian market, or they want to, they never did an acceleration program. They want to structure their startup and be ready for the investors. I'll go forward. It's some of our startups in the portfolio. You can find them on the website. Here we have some startups like health tech, startups in the social sphere, startups in the robotics, in the biotech, product startups in the fashion, climate tech. So all the different startups in the 10 batches. 10th batch right now. We started 3 weeks ago. We saw different types of the startups. Like the numbers, what we saw in general, the founders who apply, 80% are Italians and 20% outside of Europe. And coming in the co-working space, you have the more opportunities to grow and to learn from other founders who already raised funds and they remained in the co-working space. Having the institutional partners and operational partners can help startups with a go-to-market strategy. If you are deep tech startups, or if you startup that need another university students, another university. So being the university hub, it helps also startups in the field of educational have the playground. The university invest not only the money, but as well some of our startups selling services for the university. So university became the client. Plus we have other support like Invitalia with if you are registered outside of Italy, you lose the opportunity for the tax benefits that you can have in Italy. So it's some calls, the funds that you don't need to return, and additionally the supporting lobbying and organization the events. Our team grew from the beginning, so we doubled. It's people who worked previously in the field, or they were founders in the startups or in the VC. Plus, we have the university professors who support with the knowledge. So it's also like 50-50 female male. Talking about the community, having the strategic advisors, it's a professor from the university who can support you also with the knowledge from their field, from the sustainability, made in Italy, it's a fashion, beverages, food, and also anything that is about the digital tech. Having the VC and angel network and the legal clinics on the next slides, and sustainability clinics on the next slides. So talking about the strategic advisors, the people who, for example, Gabriella Loiacono, she's the director of the program in the School of MBA, where she teaches about the luxury or food or anything else related to that industry. She can help you with a go-to-market strategy. Stefano Pogus, he was one of the first experts 20 years ago in Italy about the sustainability, waste management, and right now he's a director of MBA. Massimo De La Gione, for 20 years, he was the vice president of Goldman Sachs in Italy. And right now he invests his time in startups and doing the advisory board for the startups in Italy and outside of Italy. Bocconi Alumni Angel Community, where you can receive, or in general, where the startups can receive the support and the fundraising from the angels. We organized the event as well as a tech chill for the 2 years it was organized, and we sent all the information of our startups to the angels and to the investors. some of the names of the VC that we have the contacts that we involve actively in our programs. So they have the VC office hours, or when startups finishes the programs, they can contact them actively. Legal clinics during the acceleration program, that is why university accelerators can offer more services. Having the law school, we partner with the legal firm in Italy and outside of Italy to support pro bono for 6 months legal support. It could be anything that you need. The startups need about the documents, terms and conditions, partnership, investment agreement that the startup founders at the beginning of the journey need to have. It's beneficial for all of the people, so the students can learn by doing. Startups can have the pro bono top level legal support. So if you are registered in Italy, you have the legal firm from Italy. If you're registered in France, you have the legal firm from France. And additional law firms, for them, it's a lead generation for the startups. Having already worked with them, they have potentially new clients. So one of the names on the website, we have more information. Sustainability clinics for the startups who finishes the program and they go to our portfolio. We offer that opportunity. Again, it's a pro bono to support with the students who students and sustainability firms can help on all the tasks that relate to sustainability. So it's an impact report, how to measure impact of your company. Many VC already asking startups to have the impact reports even at the beginning, at the pre-seed and seed level. Some of the events that we organize in Italy, it was the Founders Conference we organized as well, Startup Weekend, some institutional meetings, having the university network, ambassadors coming to university, to our co-working space to meet startups. As well, we organized Investor Night before the demo day to have the opportunity to present investors to the startups in the focus meeting. Here, I finished with the last stop sharing what I wanted to say about the university accelerators in Italy. They are open to receive applications from outside of Italy. It's not only for Italian. And if you are focused your startup in some field, you can find technical universities, you can find business school, you can find some university, for example, in Rome. There is the new accelerators on AI, additionally as well on the sustainability or ocean field on the south of Italy. So it's a pretty wide variety of the university accelerators in Italy. I know we have the questions, so I will read it. Oh, no, we don't have the questions. Okay, Alexandra, Hendrik, how you want to continue?
Thank you so much, Sasha, for that presentation, giving us a really good overview of the services that you provide at Bocconi. So, of course, we would like to open the floor for any questions here. And in the meantime, maybe I can just ask, because you see a lot of companies that go through your programs. So in these 6 months that they go through your program, what do you see as the key sort of factors for the ones that really make it? Perhaps they manage to raise investments after the first 6 months, and perhaps they get their first customers. What is sort of the key for these founding teams that you've seen?
We saw when it's a founders market fit. So when the founders are coming from that field, that previous experience that they had, if it's a hotel industry, so they did previously something. It's a deep tech, so you can't launch startup in deep tech if you didn't have the previous experience, or it will be not relevant for the investors to invest. That one, then they see how you fast on execution, so how you fail fast, and even if it could be very how to say surprising, but how fast you follow-up, reply on the email, on the meetings and everything. So it's very structured. I would say that three.
Thank you so much. Makes sense, right? If you come from an industry, you know how it works, and you know how maybe you have networks there and so forth. But really good knowledge, and I hope that can inspire anyone who's listening in now, looking at where to start and where they should sort of where they should focus their energy on. We also have a question here. First, we have one from Anonymous. Do you have any visitor centers?
Not sure what visitor centers mean in this way. Is it like where the people can come and see our program? Right?
Since it's an anonymous question, I don't know.
If
but
in this way,
is
yes,
it
we
open
have the
to...
co-working space. You can
Yeah,
come
you have a
and
co-working
just
space.
write us to be sure, but it's a yes. You can come and talk with the founders, and we are situated in Milan. So yes. And then, Henrik, we have another questions about the domains of startups that we look for. It's
Yes.
we are agnostic, so we don't look only in one domain. So in general, we open
Okay.
for all the startups.
Open for all types of startups. Okay, perfect.
Maybe I can take the question. It was asked from Fokin before about to Andrea. I don't know if he answered before about the statistics of the average size of seed rounds for Italian startups. I will take it, right?
Yes, perfect.
So right now the seed rounds it's between 1.5 and the 3 millions. It's very growing. The difference between now and 5 years ago, it's like doubled. And that rounds received from the Italian VC plus some international angels.
Okay. And is that mostly to Italian companies in Italy, or is it foreign companies also operating in Italy? Do you know anything of that?
The seed round, I know some mixed founders, mixed teams. That it was one Italian founder and it was a founder from the north of Europe. But in general, seed, it's when you start your startup, so you receive to go outside of Italy in this case.
Thank you so much. I don't think we have any more questions.
I can add about the robotic startups and proceed.
Yeah, thank you.
Italian.
Thank you, Sasha.
What Andrea was saying, I mean, it's correct. There are CDP that you can check the investors, but another one you can check Polyhub. Polyhub, it's a university of like Polytechnical University of Milan. They have this program and they invest together with investors, 360 VC. It's Italian and France-based investors. They invest in startups in robotics. So I will suggest to check that one. Additional, there are some list of the investors or accelerators on the Google that you can check. But in general, check the technical universities and they have already some programs.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sasha. You answered all the questions and even a few more. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you for inviting. Thank you, guys.
And thank you for taking your time. And on that note, we're moving forward with today's session. Thank you, Sasha. Have a great rest of the day. And I'd like to see Marco Nannini from Impact Hub. Are you with us?
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you to be here to host me. And wait a moment that I find the slide and try to share with you. Please be patient for 1 minute. Okay. Okay, this is of course, something is wrong now. Okay, perfect. Okay, wait. Mm, okay, view, enter full screen, share. You
Now
see my screen?
we see your screen perfectly. Thank you, Marco.
Okay, perfect. So, okay, thank you very much. And I'd like to present some data about what is the European and Italian VC landscape. I don't know if Sasha before me presents something, but just to be give you an idea of what is the Italian market. If we look at the first of all European context, we can see that it's a market that in the last 3 years is decreasing a lot respect to the peak that we have in 2021 due to several factors. For sure, one of the factors is that the angel investing or general the VC arena, it's a risk asset, a big risk asset. So when the interest rate it's growing and there is other kind of investment, other asset that it could be low risk with a high interest, a lot of people move his investment from the risk to low risk. So this is generally what's happened in the Europe, what's happened even in US and so on. The problem is that this is a number for Europe. It's not so big, but it's a good market. And you see the average round, it's about in the last year 8.3 million for each round. So this means that there is big round and small round. If we look on the situation, on Italian situation, we have a similar pathway. So a peak not in 2021, but in 2022, but a big decreasing. But the main point is that the Italian market it's very little in reality. So it's only 1 billion, 1.2 billion, and the average round it's about 3.7. So very low. It's more than half respect to the average of the sector in the Europe. And if we consider that this market, we can see, and I don't have a slide with the number for France or Germany, but if we consider a benchmark with France or Germany, we can see that Italian market it's not in embryonic phases, but for sure is not developed at this best or what we desire as an actor of this sector. If we look on the breakdown, it's similar to other countries. So this is the number of the number of round for each sector, and it's approximately the same in all the countries. There is software is the main, life science the secondary generally, and then there is smart city, deep tech. So all the technology that it's used for develop some sectors. So it's quite good, food and agriculture, that it's our one of our sector. And even there is not here in number of rounds, but we have a good position in the space economy, especially in the last year. So in the 2024, we do something. It's growing. There is an accelerator. There is some funds that invest in this arena. So this is one of our characteristics. If we look on the kind of which stage we invested in, we can see that there is the majority of the round are in the pre-seed or seed phases. So this is another indicator of the Italian situation. There is not a big unicorn. There is not big scale up until now. unfortunately. So the Series A, Series B, and Series C, it's only very then a quarter of the total round that we do in the sector. So this is what we can say about the VC. Until now, the sector is mainly for Italian VC. So it's not the Italian market is not a market that the foreign investor look with interest, generally speaking. Until now, there is only Series B or Series C that coming in Italy in order to find the best investment. But in the last year, something it's a little bit shifted towards early stage investment, including pre-seed and seed round. So some foreign investor, venture capital, looking on our country, and this for us it's a good opportunity because of course open the global market and not only the Italian market. I think Sasha present another good incubator in Italy, and so I pass very quickly on this slide. What is an incubator? What a service? It's like in the other industry. There is a lot of incubator and accelerator in Italy. Generally, our accelerator program in Italy they give initial funding a range between 50 to 200,000 euro with potential follow-on investment. It's growing this seed funding thanks to the CDP accelerator program or CDP accelerator funds that invest in the last 3 years, starting to invest in some accelerator program and give a boost to this seed funding in the acceleration. Some number about the incubator accelerator. There is a study this is number from the 2023. 262 incubators and accelerator currently active. Currently active means that they do at least one program of incubation accelerator. There is only 64 are certified. In Italy, there is a law that it's give a certification for some incubator. It's not something that it's really important because it's only in my opinion, it's only a certification for some key element that you need to have, but it's not so relevant, this key element, in order to and we are one of the 64 certified incubator. But for example, some of the CDP accelerator program are not certified, for example. Doesn't mean that it's are not good, absolutely. It's growing 10%, but in number, but there is a good a change in the system. I think there is actually some a number of accelerator in Italy that could be between 20 to 30 accelerator that are the main accelerator. The other one, there is a sort of changing every year, so they do something in 1 year and no incubation program in the following years and so on. They help almost 3,000 startups in the last year, and here it's important to to give you a point, in some cases, they are not really startups in the real sense. So they help 300,000 new entrepreneurs in order to grow, to help in entering the market. But in some cases, they are not really startups with the pathway, the normal pathway with VC, angel investing, and so on. The majority of these incubators are in the north of Italy, and particularly in Lombardy. And they give to all the startup incubated approximately 3 million. So a lot of the money are in the seed stage. And 60% are incubator with social or environmental impact. And this is very important for us because we are the first, our name is Impact Hub. We are part of a big network, international network of more than 120 space around the world, more than 60 countries now. And we are present really spread around the world. You can see on the map. And we are focused, our name is define our focus. We are focused on impact startups. So we want to help startups with social or environmental impact, positive impact. This is what we do in Impact Hub Milano. Personally, I manage Milano, Torino, and Florence, so the 3 sites. And we do this kind of services. Of course, we have find a co-working office and so on, but this is only the small part of our business. The main part of our business are these 3 areas, the yellow and these 2 corporate and investor services, that are our 3 main clients, no? And that are the 3 clients or the 3 actors that are present in the VC arena. So from one side, there is a startup, and we offer incubation program and acceleration program. Acceleration program is once a year where we invested and directly and give seed money. The incubation program are incubation that are offered from our partner, or we offer for fee. Of course, success fee with fund if we reach funding and so on, but it's the startups pay for the service. The acceleration programs where we invested in, we selected generally between 5 or 6 startups a year, and now we have a portfolio of 30 startups approximately. We started in 2016, and we have 1 partial exit, and of course some write-off, and some startups that are going very well. Then there is the other side, the corporate service. So we offer service for corporate innovation, open innovation, or corporate social impact positioning for the corporate. So help even in the corporate venture capital, whatever. And then we have the service for the investor. And particularly, we manage some club deal, and we manage directly with fund. We create and manage 2 groups of business angel. One is called Angels for Impact. That, of course, it's a group of business angel that invest in impact startups. And the other one is called Angel for Women. It's a unique group in Italy, and not only in Italy, that are made by mainly female business angels that invest only in female startups. We create this together with AXA, that is our partner, and we create this in 2019 because there is a big gender gap, even on the side of the business angel, that are now only 20% of the total number of the business angel are female, but when we start are only 6% in Europe, in Italy. And even there is a problem of gender gap in the female startups. generally they perform better than the normal startups, and the reason why is only because there is a adverse selection, really adverse selection. So only 25% of the startups are founded or managed by a leading group of female, but they receive less money than the other in average, but they perform better than the other. So we decided to create this group because it's an important thing to eliminate this gender gap, but even because it's an opportunity, a good opportunity where to invest. This is our acceleration services. We do 7 edition, 31 startups. More generally, we incubated more than 200 startups, and we received in the last year more than 2,000 applications. We are also even partner of several initiatives like Premio Gaetano Marzotto, that now it's changed the name in the last 2 years. It's called 2031. Get It, Next Energy, and Welfare che Impresa. Welfare che Impresa, for example, it's an incubation program more for third sector entrepreneur. So in some cases are association or foundation and not really startups. This is some of our startups in our portfolio, and some of them are going very good, like Vita Mills, for example. They obtained more than 1 million, approximately 2 million of funding, but now they are closing in this day a Series A of 7 million funds. And Rice House, Vita Mills, it's the idea is to create a totally customizable offer, making healthy eating tasty, simple, and accessible to all. And now they shift they change the name, not more Vita Meals, but Vita Health, and it's more on a nutrition program and whatever. Rice House, it's a leader in production and marketing of material for building that coming from the waste of the rice house production. And this is one of our key in terms of circular economy. I think it's a good story. They raise more than 1 million in the first round. They plan to raise 2 million after 1 year, but fortunately they don't need it. So they don't raise because they don't need any funds until now. And this other two, Teach Corner and Doc Atelier. Doc Atelier, in reality, it's partially an exit because we merged this company with another one that is called Italian Artisan. That is a big platform to sell quality artisan and made in Italy products. And Teach Corner is a digital platform that offers study support services and whatever. That's it. I don't know if there is a question.
Thank you so much for that, Marco. Let's see if we have any questions in the Q&A. So please, everyone participating, if you have any questions for Marco, now is your time to reach out. In the meantime, I had a question just regarding, you mentioned that you do club deals.
Yes.
So you as an incubator do these, or how do you partner with investors to do that?
We create some club deal for several reasons. The first one is we manage a club deal to give seed money in the acceleration program. So our acceleration program until now, it's made by our money plus money coming from some business angel, and we create club deal in order to invest in this opportunity. And sometimes we do club deal outside of our group of business angel because we see other startups and that it doesn't pass in the normal pathway of the group of business angel. And we offer some opportunity to create a club deal and to invest all together. For example, we invest in Nucleo. Nucleo is a big company that work on the 4th generation of nuclear reactor, and it's necessary to have at least 200,000 euro in order to invest. It's a minimum ticket of 100 that I don't remember. And we create a club deal between several group of business angels in order to invest in this kind of opportunity, for example.
Okay.
And for them, we manage for the angel investor group, we manage all the phases from the screening to the exit.
Okay.
If it's possible.
Understand. And just since we have mostly Ukrainian startups and entrepreneurs with us here today, how do you see that these companies and entrepreneurs can benefit from Impact Hub Milan if they're looking to enter the Italian markets? Okay,
if they want to enter in the Italian market, of course, as a group of as an incubator, we incubate startups that, of course, have a presence in Italy. Or want to have a presence in Italy, so want to move in Italy some operation, and we help them. For example, we have 2 years ago, a company that are born in Netherlands that want to open the operation in Italy, and they do our acceleration program. As a group of investor, we look mainly Italian because it's more simple generally, but we look even to other startups, even outside. So if there is an opportunity, we look on that. In order to invest, we need to see something that is or very unique, something that is very different from the other, or they have some interest in Italian. That could be the market, that could be production, that could be open the market and whatever.
Yeah, I see here we have some questions in the chat as well.
Yes, but unfortunately I can.
So one question here is, what is your ideal participant in your accelerator and incubator programs? What do you look for the most?
For the selection program, we search people. There is a friend of mine that write a book, Eye of the Tiger. This is the main point. So with passion to do this, it's the main important things, in my opinion, is that the people are very committed to do business, to do entrepreneur, and to do business. Even because for sure you start and in the first 2 years or 3 years you have a lot of problem, a lot of challenge that you need to address. And so, or you are very, very committed to do the business, to do this kind of business, or otherwise there is a problem. In terms of sector, we are very agnostic. For sure, we want to have something that do a positive impact. So it's not only we do this and we use the recycling package. This is not our business. But we want that the impact is embedded on your business model. These are important things. And the impact could be social, could be environmental, could be cultural, whatever.
I understand.
And for the stage, it's important for us that we see that in 6 months, 5 months, that it's approximately the period between the starting and the demo day. We can help them in order to be ready to invest. So we want to have something that in 5 months it's ready, the people invested in, and then we grow. Otherwise, we lose time and money.
Okay, and one last one here is just a question regarding if you work in other regions or have contacts in other regions apart from Lombardy. What about Sicily, for example?
We have Impact Hub is present in several regions. In Italy, we are present in we have 8 cities. 3 are managed by my company, but there is other 5, sorry. One is Reggio Emilia, one other is in Trento, Roma, Bari, and Siracusa, so Puglia and Sicily. And Puglia, in particular, they have a good incubation program. And of course, there is a lot of opportunity in terms of regional funds and help from the structural funds, grant and whatever, if you put your headquarters in the south of Italy. I forget to say that we are partner even in Torino, a program that is called I don't remember the name now, but it's an European program focus on data. So if you have a business model that need to use a lot of data from other actors, for example, you need to use the data from traffic in order to serve or to give your service to other people. We do this program. This is an European program. We have a data club of big company like Telecom Italia, like Enel, like other industry bank and so on. And they can offer this data in order to use this data for other startups that use this data for impact. This is this is the program. So if you have any this kind of opportunity, it's open.
Okay, we also have one final question here. Then we'll let you off the hook, Marco. But we have a question here regarding challenges that you have in Italy that you would personally like to see entrepreneurs trying to solve. Maybe some inspiration for a next venture here.
If I have a particular,
if there are any particular challenges that you see in the Italian markets that you would like to see that entrepreneurs worked more on.
Oh, I want to change my government, but I don't think it's a startup could change. It's a big challenge. No, not for the government, but for industrial, because we don't have enough attention to the startup market, unfortunately. I don't know. There is several problems that we have for sure in Italy in the next few years. There is a shift between in the sector of the health, because until now we have a big public health, and of course we are shifting to private health. And so there is an opportunity for several platforms, like there is some French platform that help on this and some opportunity. And even generally speaking, the digital health sector or the health in general, or biomedical, whatever, it's a sector where in Italy there is a lot of competencies and a lot of opportunities because they can grow very, very fast.
Great. So a lot of opportunities in the health sector for digitalization. Hopefully some of you listening in will tackle these challenges. Marco, it was a real pleasure having you with us today. We have provided Marco's LinkedIn in the chat. So if you're interested in reaching out, I suggest you do it that way.
It's a pleasure.
And we'll let you go now. Have a great rest of the day. And unless, of course, you want to listen more. But I'm sure
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we will move on in our program, and we will actually take a short break now. So we will take about 4 minutes break now. So we'll meet back here at 10:30 Central European time, so past. And then we will listen to a few more stories from David Pinsale about the ICT market. So yeah, fill up your coffee mugs, maybe stretch your legs, and see you back here in 4 minutes. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the break, and I hope you enjoyed the session we had up until now. But now I'm really happy to introduce to you Davide Pisasale, who will talk a little bit about his own journey as an entrepreneur in the ICT sector. So thank you so much for taking your time, Davide. Really looking forward to listening to your story again.
Hello, thank you
Cheers, yours.
guys. And good morning, everybody. Can you hear me well, Eric?
Yes, we hear you
Yeah,
perfectly.
perfect. All right, so good morning. Today, well, I will introduce a little bit about myself. And of course, Eric and Alexandra, if you can share the link to LinkedIn, feel free. This is to everybody. Feel free to reach out to me, send me messages, add me on LinkedIn. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me anything you want. If I can be helpful, I will. And so I will introduce a little bit about myself, and then we will talk just an overview of the ICT IT market in Italy, and then I will talk about my experience as an entrepreneur in Italy, and I really hope this could be insightful, helpful for you guys. And so I'm a mechanical engineer. I've studied at Politecnico di Torino. I'm originally from Sicily, but I've studied in Torino. And then with a scholarship, I ended up studying my Master of Science at University of Illinois at Chicago. And then I stayed and lived in the US for about 5 years. I've done some research at the university in the US. And then I worked for a corporate as a mechanical engineer for about 3 to 4 years. And then at a certain point, I decided there was a need for a change in my career. So I came back to Europe and I did an MBA. It's a European MBA from a business school, from a French business school, which is called the Collège des Ingénieurs. I highly suggest this MBA because it's a tuition-free MBA. So if you are able to go into the selections and if you're selected, then they will full reimburse the fee for the MBA. And it's between Paris, Munich, and Torino in Italy. It's a 1-year MBA. This allowed me to, like I said, give a change to my career, somehow pivot my career. I wasn't sure if I was gonna be an entrepreneur, but during the MBA, I started my own business. And I have to say, the MBA helped me a lot because it's a lot of network. You network with a lot of other entrepreneurs. You understand better what's the business behind, what's the market, how it works the market, how to run a company, and all that. And I will talk about my experience as an entrepreneur later on. About the market, if there are any questions, please let me know. About the market, let's talk about ICT in Italy. So ICT is a relatively big market in Italy. We're talking about almost 80 billions. And it's IT plus TLC, which is telecommunication. My focus is actually on IT market, which is roughly 36 billion in Italy. But there are some characteristics, especially now, that make this market attractive somehow, and I will tell you in a moment why. Who is in the IT market? Let's focus on the IT market for now. Let's not talk about the TLC, which is a slightly different thing. Who are the biggest player in the IT market? As far as multinational companies, of course, we have the biggest names. Microsoft. Recently, like last week, they revealed a 5 billion investment in Italy. So Microsoft is heavily investing in Italy, which means it's for Microsoft, Italy is a strategic country. That's a big news. 5 billion investment from an American company in Italy. It's a big investment. Then we have IBM. IBM is mainly behind all the financial services in Italy, especially banks. Then we have Oracle, SAP, which you probably know, that's the leader in global leader for ERP. SAP has a strong presence in Italy. They're building a new office in the very center of Milan. They want to attract young talents. Again, they're doing big investments. About the multinational company again, like Accenture, or Capgemini, which is a French company, Almaviva. And then there are some big consulting firm, IT consulting firm, which are Italian based, and they're growing very fast. One is Reply, which is based in Torino, and it's now becoming a global IT consulting firm. And the other one is Engineering, again, an Italian firm, which is growing globally. So these are like the best examples of Italian companies which are become now multinational, starting from the Italian market. That means the Italian market is a big market because allowed this company to grow and now to grow again in Europe or globally. What are the characteristics that I was saying that makes it very attractive right now? It comes from PNRR, the Piano Nazionale di Ripresa e Resilienza. That means that basically the next generation EU in Italy, because the two main pillars are digital transformation and green transition. And Italy has got the biggest stake of investment for digital transformation in Europe. So there are like 40 billions of euros from Europe ready to invest in Italy in digital transformation. And if you compare this number to the other European countries like France, Germany, Spain, even Spain, this is by far the biggest numbers for digital transformation in Europe. And that's a big opportunity for all the players in the digital transformation in the IT industry in Italy right now. So this is very new. This is what's happening now. You know that these are investments that needs to be completed or invested at least before 2026. So it's a lot of money to be invested in the next couple of years. What else? So it's a relatively big market. It's growing at a good pace. Also thanks to this big injection of investments from Europe. At the same time, though, it's a very competitive market. So let's switch side. Now we saw things from above. Let's switch side. Let's talk about small entrepreneurs that try to enter the market. Very, very competitive. There is a lot of competition. There are a lot of SMEs this is the Italian market. Italian market is basically SMEs everywhere. 95% of the market in Italy, in all industries, is covered by SMEs. The same is happening in the IT market. So there are a lot of SMEs that provides, let's say, low prices services with average quality, sometimes even high quality, but still with the low prices. So this is why it's very competitive. And recently, what's happening is, so the big consulting firm for the last 10, 15 years have done what's called offshoring. You probably are familiar with this, and they've used India basically mainly to outsource their IT services. Now, in the last after COVID, especially, there is a return to what it's called nearshoring. So they don't go up far like in India or Asia. They're trying to do nearshoring, but nearshoring means basically east of Europe, the Balkanic area, and this is making the market even more competitive because these countries are in Europe, which is different than having outsourcing in India. It makes it we're talking about the European market. Again, low prices, average quality, competition increase. So it's a big market on one side, but hard market to enter because there is a lot of competition. What else? So what I'm telling you is valid for sure for consulting. So we're talking about IT services. There is a slightly different story if we're talking about IT products. I think for IT products right now in Italy, there is a big opportunity. The competition is a little bit better. I mean, it's easier to enter. If we're talking about IT products, it's easier to enter in the market because if you have a valid product, the market is big. If you're able to sell it and to scale, you can work easily in Italy. There is, I mean, the best and biggest example is bending spoons. If you don't know about bending spoons, I highly suggest to take a look and watch and see what's the story behind bending spoons. It's a beautiful story. Now it's one of the biggest player in Italy. It's growing globally. It was one of the very few unicorns that we had in Italy. And what they do is basically IT product. What they sell IT products. So that means that they saw that there was a big opportunity to do products in Italy. They took that opportunity, and now they've built one of the best companies in Europe. What else about this? Yes, well, I can, if I had to give an insight for the next futures of the next future of the IT market in Italy, I think a major role will be taken by data centers and data hubs. It's becoming already critical in US. And I think very soon this will be very critical also in Europe and in Italy. And it's all due with the exponential development of the AI technologies. AI needs data, and data needs energy. So the two critical points are data centers and energy to run data centers. This is like if you read the American newspaper, every day they're talking about how difficult it is to develop data centers in America because they don't have space because they're growing exponentially, and it's not easy to build data centers that fast. And also they need to find the energy to run that data center. This is valid right now in US, and again, soon it will be a major critical point also for the development of IT technology also in Italy. Okay, I will share my experience as an entrepreneur in Italy now. As I said, I started in 2017, during the MBA actually. It's me and my brother, is the CTO of the company. And we basically started from zero. It was a freelance working with one client. We started from that client and we built one resource at a time. What we did is really like started from scratch. We had one client, which was the client of my brother as a freelance. And we said, okay, let's add one more, the first employee, and ask for the client to give us more work. And we did that. And then the second employee, the third employee, and step by step, we built a model and we grew. And then at a certain point, after a couple of years, I started investing in the administration of the company to run internal processes. Then at a certain point, I added the human resources. And so in 7 years, what we do now is that we have a company of 70 people, all based in Sicily. The company is based in Sicily. The people work from Sicily. We work remotely. Now our clients are mainly outside of Italy, and this is for what I was telling you before, that Italian market is too competitive, and really, if you want to do IT services, because we're talking about IT services, it's better if you work outside of Italy. We have it's a larger market. You work. I mean, the processes are managed better by outside of Italy, and it's not cheap as in Italy. So what we do now is 40% of our clients are in Italy, 60% are outside of Italy, and outside of Italy I mean Switzerland, Luxembourg, and we're opening the US market. What else? So if you wanna work in the IT services industry from Italy to outside and have clients outside of Italy, there are two key elements. High quality of delivery. This is a key characteristic that we kept in the company since day one. We do a big filtering of resources when we hire. We need to hire only the best resources. We need to take care about the quality of delivery all the time. This is important. It's important always, but especially in this case. And of course, you need to have a base of English language if you want to export services outside of Italy. So when we hire, again, a key element is if the developer can speak at least the basic English language, then they can join the company. We have a program where we train young developer, especially recent grad. Now there is a big development of coding schools, coding bootcamp. So what we do is we select some of those people that have gone through one of those bootcamps, and then we do the training on the job to give them a better training and to insert somehow them into the market. So what I can say is that we have validated a model in these 7 years. Now it's time to scale. What I'm working right now, my full-time job right now is to see what's the best the best way to scale our model. We're thinking of doing a capital increase and dilute 10% of our equity. Is this the best way to scale the company? Yes and no at the same time. There are like no perfect rules when you want to do something like that. If you talk to private equity, they will tell you that private equity is the best way to scale an IT services company. Probably they're right. Right now we want to raise capital from people from, let's say we're raising smart money, so we want people that can give us contacts, networks to expand our clients outside of Italy. And another way is to also you can do debt, because we're talking, my company is not a startup, it's a company which is EBITDA, which creates margin, which is financially positive, so you can use your own money to scale. And with your own money, you can go to the banks and have their help, and you do debt, and you can scale also doing with debt. Or you can do a combination of all these three. So what I was saying is there are no rules in this case. It's somehow up to we're talking about over 3 million revenue company. So it's a small company, and it's up to the entrepreneur to decide what's the best way to scale. When you are 5 million, 10 million revenue company, then probably there is a better scheme or a better fixed direction that you can follow. And but we're still a small company.
Thank you so much for giving us that overview, David. Really interesting to hear not only that you can actually, grow and bootstrap and actually grow in a sustainable way, making it EBITDA positive, and then actually raise money to grow. I think it's
exactly
inspiring in a world where we usually do it the other way around. We have some questions here. If you could provide some unique features that you've seen in your years in the Italian IT market. What is sort of highlighted? What is standing out, do you think? And then also we have a question about if you can propose some cities for people that are looking to perhaps relocate in Italy, where you think it's a good IT.
Relocate as entrepreneurs to start their own company, or as a tech.
Exactly.
To start their own company, of course, you need to go to the hubs. If you, especially if you're coming from outside of Italy, it's I mean it's harder to start a business in the south of Italy right now. What we've done, we've done it because we know the market, we know the territory, we know the communities, we had contacts with the universities, and we built from there. But if you're coming from outside, my suggestion is to start from Milano, at least to get a better overview of how things work. And then once you know a little bit, then you can decide if you want to move and relocate to the south of Italy, because south of Italy, like Nenini was saying before, it's very interesting right now also for a lot of incentives that are coming from regional incentives, but also national incentives to start a company and to build a company in the south of Italy. But you have to know a little bit the how things work there, and you have to have at least some connection. It's much easier to start things in Milano. Milano is the only one ecosystem in Italy, startup ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystem in Italy. A little bit Rome also, but by far Milano is the best. Me, myself, I live in Milano half the time and in Catania the other half. So I still, need to do this kind of bridge between the north of Italy and south of Italy to keep things alive. So coming from outside, I would definitely suggest Milan. And the first question was some key insight.
Just if you, in one sentence, before we move on in the program.
I think Bending Spoon's story can give us the best insight on IT market in Italy.
Okay, so we will look more into Bending Spoons. Maybe that's for the second workshop then.
Yes.
Okay, Davide. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really nice to hear from you, your story, and congratulations on all the progress that you've made. And it sounds like you have a lot of plans and visions. So really looking forward to following you from the sidelines.
Thank you, guys.
Davide.
Ciao.
Ciao. And on that note, we are moving forward in our program, and I'm really happy to welcome our partners from DLA Piper. Are you with us, DLA Piper?
Yes, we are here.
Perfect.
Hi, Henrik.
Hi, Anna. Good to see you again. So I will hand over the floor to you then.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me share my screen. Okay, can you see it?
Not just yet.
No. Let me try once again. Okay. Yeah.
Now we see it.
No. Okay,
Perfect.
perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Anna Kalinichenko. I'm a senior associate at DLA Piper. DLA Piper is a global law firm with more than 90 offices in 40 plus countries around the world. We have more than 1,000 lawyers who are ranked as leaders in their field. And today, our experts in corporate, intellectual property, tax, and employment areas will discuss legal framework for startups in Italy. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A function, and hopefully we will have time to answer your questions after our session. And now we are starting with the corporate part. And let me hand over to my colleagues Martina Antonelli and Lucia to provide you insights in the corporate part, how to set up the business in Italy and other aspects. So Lucia and Martina, the floor is yours.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so nice to meet you. I'm Martina and I work with Lucia in the corporate department in Rome. Today we are going to give you an overview on how to set up a company in Italy and then we will focus on requirements for startups. In Italy, we have two main type of companies, namely the joint stock company and limited liability company. Both of them have autonomous legal personality. So this means that, of course, the shareholders will not be required to pay debts and liabilities of the company with their own assets. The company is a separate entity with respect to the relevant shareholders. We have the main differences is regarding the capital required, because in the joint stock companies require a minimum share capital of 50,000 euros, whilst for limited liability companies we do not have a minimum required capital. I mean, the minimum required capital is €1, but there is not a minimum required capital. And for both the company, the contributions can be made both in kind or in cash. So in this perspective, there is not much difference between the two. And for both the company, you can issue bond instruments, but of course for joint stock companies a bit easier, but whilst for limited liability companies you need to meet some specific requirements in order to be allowed to issue bonds. But for the purposes that we are analyzing here in this webinar, probably limited liability companies are more fitted for startups, even if there is not a specific requirement in law with respect to the form of startups, because limited liability companies are more are basically more flexible and cheaper than joint stock companies, because for joint stock companies you need to be provided with a board of statutory auditors, whilst for limited liability companies the board of statutory auditors is required only if you meet certain requirements, basically of number of employees and turnover. And also the joint stock companies need to audit their own balance sheet and accounts, whilst for limited liability companies, again, it is not mandatory to have audited accounts unless certain requirements are met. So in this specific case, we will focus and we will suggest to start with a limited liability company if you want to enter into the market in Italy. In the next slide, we have indicated a checklist of what you need to know in order to set up a new company in Italy. So we will not go through the slide in detail, but basically these are all the information that you need to know before setting up a company. So in particular, you have to have an idea on with respect to the corporate purpose, basically, and the type of management structure that you want to provide the company with. So I think we can skip to the next slide. Yeah. Okay. Here we have indicated the key feature of the procedure for setting up a company in Italy. In Italy, in order to set up a company, you need to go to a public notary. And so the deed of incorporation is a public deed to be signed before a notary, who will check the powers of the people going to him to incorporate a company. So if the shareholder is a corporate entity, probably the notary will require for the decision of the shareholder to set up the company. And probably if the company is outside of Italy or outside Europe, it will be necessary to have also a translation of the decision of the relevant corporate corporate body, and the translation maybe need to be authenticated and apostilled. Apart from that, there are not specific requirements for not Italian companies to set up an Italian branch. In particular, you need to indicate what will be the management structure of the company, and so you can choose between a sole director or a board of directors. Each director shall be provided with an Italian tax code at the moment of the incorporation. So if you are planning to set up a company in Italy, your director shall be provided with a tax code, but it is something quite easy to obtain. So it's just a matter of timing, but you just need to be aware of that. And we do not have particular requirements with respect to the nationality of the shareholders, so the shareholders can be both Italian or abroad shareholders. After the incorporation, so after that the deed is signed before the notary will proceed with the deposit of the deed with the company's register, and usually the notary also requires the VAT code for the company in order to be registered with the company's register. And once the registration is completed, and so the company is registered with the company register, it can operate in the Italian market, and so the incorporation is effective. Now I will leave the floor to Lucia, who will give an analysis of the main feature of startups and requirements.
Thank you very much, Martina, and nice to meet you, everyone. I'm Lucia. And as Martina said just now, we wanted to show you some of the requirements, all the requirements to set up a startup in Italy. As Martina said before, the most important thing to know at first is that with respect to the form of the startups, they can be formed both as a SPA, so a joint stock company, or a limited liability company. And this is the reason why we wanted to give you an overview about the specifics of these two forms of corporations. And with respect to the other requirements in relation to the form, it is important that a startup it is not formed as a result of a merger or demerger. And another requirement which is really important is the fact that you should not be in business for no more than 6 months. With respect to the purpose, usually this is in the case of every kind of corporations, it usually has a purpose, a business purpose. And with respect to the startups, it has to have a specific one, which is to be involved in development, production, and marketing of products which have high technological value. With respect to headquarters, it is requested specifically that the startup should be domiciled in Italy or in another EU country, which has indeed adhered to the European Economic Area Agreement. With respect to the other requirements, which need to be all these requirements that I'm mentioning cumulative, it is also requested that quotas and shares should not be listed in a regulated market. So this means that it can be formed as a joint stock company, but just in a closed way and not in a closed form, and not a one listed in a regulated market. As well as for the profits, which should not be distributed And lastly, with respect to these requirements, it is also requested that from the second year of creation of the startup, the turnover should be under 5 million euros. This means that the total annual production value should not exceed this amount. With respect to the last three requirements, we divided in this table these requirements to specify that whilst the first one need to be in a cumulative way, it is requested to have just one of these requirements in an alternative way. So it is requested or to provide and have expenses in research and development and innovation equal or greater than 15% of the turnover, so the greater value between cost and development. With respect to the personnel of the startup, it is requested to or have 1 out of 3 PhD holders, or alternatively 2 out of 3 master graduates. And lastly, regarding industrial innovations, it is requested that in order to be to fall in this category, to be an owner or depository or licensee of an industrial patent, obviously regarding innovative product with high technological value, or with respect to creation of a plant. And so we wanted to give you pretty much an overview about the startups and the requirements. And I'll now leave the floor to Anna and the next teams that are going to present after us.
Thank you very much, Martina and Lucia. And we are moving forward. And now our intellectual property expert, Gualtiero Dragotti and Camilla Francesca Christi, I believe, yes, will discuss the intellectual property rights. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anna. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm Gualtiero Dragotti, partner of IPT department, DLA Piper Milan. The final note in the previous slide was related to the IP, and that's the reason for which today we dedicated some time to investigate a little bit more about IP. We are not going to deal with them in details, but we will try to give you an overview. My role here is just to introduce the topic and telling you what are IP. Maybe you are already aware. They work all the same way. The state, the government, you are given an exclusive right of a certain solution, certain immaterial goods, and those exclusive rights are of different kinds. And if you want to have a handy list of them, you can look at Article 1 of the Italian IP Code, which was enacted in 2005, so it's pretty new, but it lists all the IP rights, but for one, which is the copyright, which is regulated in another piece of law, pretty old in this case, 1942, but in 1942, yes, but still relevant and updated to reflect the news. And if we move to the next slide, you will see the main IP rights that could be relevant for you, and Camilla is going to describe them and illustrate them with some more details, even if she's not going to give you all the nitty-gritties of each right. They are indicated in the slides, and you will see the slides at the end of this analysis. The important point, and my last point here, is that it is not necessary to decide which is the right IP right to better protect, for the best protection of your innovation, of your innovative assets or your market asset, because it is quite possible that more than one of them apply, And the principle, which is now valid in Italy and all over Europe, I would say, is that, of course, you need some coordination, but you can get a cumulative protection. So the fact that a creation could be protected by copyright does not prevent you from filing the shape of the product as a trademark, or to find a model or design, or even to file and obtain a patent for an invention that is the technical gist of that product. That means that you do not have to choose. You have just to understand what could be applicable and try to protect your assets, your material asset, at their best. That said, I would leave the floor to Camilla, that will tell us more about each right.
Thank you, Gualtiero, for the introduction, and good morning, everyone. So let's start talking about patents for inventions. We can move forward. Next slide, please. Thank you. According to Article 45 of Industrial Property Code, patents may be granted for inventions in all fields of technology which are new, involve an inventive step, and are suitable for industrial application. Well, while the concept of invention has not been defined by the legislator, the latter has specifically provided on one side what cannot be considered as an invention. And for example, we have scientific theories, mathematical methods, and discoveries. And on the other hand, what cannot be patented. In this regard, we have, for example, methods for surgical treatment of human or animal body. In order to be patentable, an invention shall meet some requirements. The most important ones are the novelty, which means that an invention shall be new. This is to say that it shall not form part of the state of the art, which means all that have been made available to the public before the date of filing. Also, another important requirement is the one of inventive step. This is to say that the invention shall not be obvious for the person skilled in the art. The invention shall also be lawful and suitable to have industrial application, as we mentioned before. In order to obtain a patent, you have first to file a patent application, which shall be sufficiently described as well as accompanied by drawings and claims. With regard to the duration of the protection, it lasts 20 years from the date of the filing, and there are some exemptions, for example, for drugs and phytosanitary products. It's also worth mentioning that the employee's invention follow a specific regime, which has been recently reformed. We can now move forward to trademarks. Just to give you an overview, a trademark is the way a product and or services can be distinguished on the market. And Article 7 of Italian IP Code reads that a trademark registration may consist of any sign, provided that such signs are capable of distinguishing the goods and being represented in a manner which enables the authorities as well as the public to determine clearly and precisely the subject matter of the protection. Even in this case, trademarks shall meet some requirements in order to obtain to be registered. The first one is novelty, and also in this case, the legislator gave a definition by contrary, saying specifically what cannot be intended as new. Another important requirement is the one of distinctive character, which is the ability of the trademark to distinguish and identify a goods or services. They also have to be lawful and not to be misleading in order to the origin or the quality of the product. It's important also to say that there are several types of trademarks, as you may appreciate from the pictures on the right. The first one, Nike, is a word mark. Then we have a figurative one, a position mark, a shape mark, which is a category very debated, a pattern marks, and many others, for example, color and sound marks. The duration of protection in this case is 10 years, which can be renewed and without any limitation. It's worth mentioning last unregistered trademarks, which are a category that can find protection under IP law. if their use led to popularity not merely local. In this case, they can prevent others from registering the same trademark. Also, it is important to keep in mind when you want to register a trademark that you have to decide to choose the products and or services you want to cover under the classes of a specific regulation called the NHTSA regulation. We can then move forward to the third IP right we are going to have a look at, which are design models. They are basically the way to protect the external appearance of a product. And in this case, the legislator gave also a definition of what a product is. You can find it on the slide. There are some requirements also in this case in order for design models to be registered. The first one is a novelty, which means that the design and model shall not have been disclosed prior to the filing date or the priority claimed, which means that if you file it in a country, then want to extend the protection, you can do it with the priority. Another important requirement is the individual character, which means that the overall impression on the informed user, which shall differ from the design and model disclosed before the filing or the priority date. And also in this case, we have the lawful requirement. Two concepts are worth mentioning in relation to design and models. The first one is the one of disclosure, which can happen by registration, but not only, also by commercialization or by exposition. In some cases, disclosure is not detrimental for the registration of a designer model. For example, if you disclose them through a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA, or if you disclose them 12 months before the registration, which is a period called grace period. Another important concept is the one of technical function, because features of the product which have a technical, which are imposed by technical functions cannot find protection and be registered as design models. The duration of protection is different from registered and unregistered design models. For the first one is 5 years, which can be renewed until a maximum of 25 years. Instead, we have 3 years for unregistered design models from disclosure. They are also protected, may find protection also under copyright law, as Gualtiero will say then. We can then have a brief look into trade secrets and know-how. Trade secrets, which belong to the wider category of know-how, are those business information and technical industrial experience, which is confidential, has economic value, and is subject to measures adequately protected. In our experience as a law firm, they are very important. For example, into thinking about 2 patent litigations we are dealing with, one of them involved trade secrets. And the best way to protect confidential information is drafting non-disclosure agreements. Finally, coming to domain names, we are not, they are in next slide, please. We are not, thank you. We are not going through the definition, which is well known. Someone could, however, wonder why it is important to have a look at domain names in an IP overview presentation. The answer is that domain names are considered by the major case law in Italy as an atypical distinctive signs, to whom apply IP code. That's why they are very near to trademarks, and in particular, domain names with distinctive character are protected as trademarks. I will now give the floor back to Gualtiero in order to introduce copyright law. Thank you.
Thank you, Camilla. Just a couple of words about this, let's say, last one, IP right, which is particularly relevant. It was created many, many years ago, centuries ago, to cover a work of art. I mean, novels, music, etc. But over the time, it evolved a lot and accommodated every new creation made by humans. So we had copyright on movies, and ultimately we had copyright on software and databases, which is the traditional way. Copyright is the traditional way to protect those kind of work, which are, of course, have a use, have an industrial use. You can build a company on software, and this is not unusual. By the way, as I said at the beginning, the fact that you can get the software protection, copyright protection on your software does not mean that you cannot pursue patent protection. In some cases where the software has a further technical effect, it says the European Patent Office, and it's simply not a calculation or an algorithm, then you can get a patent on that. It could be a little tricky, but I would not rule out the possibility to get a patent on your software solution, which will give you a broader protection vis-a-vis the protection given by copyright, which is the protection of that piece of code. And by the way, copyright is now very, very popular because it's the main IP right, which is discussed when we talk about artificial intelligence. So it's very modern. The structure remains the same. The copyright lasts for generally 70 years from the death of the author, and there is a moral right in Europe, and can be at some extent registered. And if you want to use your software to create your to establish your innovative company, you need to register it. And talking about registration, and it's going to be the last slide and the last point I want to touch with you today, some of the rights, for example, software, for example, copyright, sorry, they are existing even without registration. But registering a right, an IP right, where possible, and this is possible for software too, is really a clever idea. I mean, in particular, if you are a startup, your main asset would be, or usually is, an immaterial asset. And if you register it, you are in the position to sell it, to get funds on it. And it's the way to sit at the table with other companies and negotiating license, etc. So actually, you should always find a way to register your rights. In Italy, we have the Italian PTO. Then there is the European IPO, EU IPO. There is the European Patent Office. Every right has its own registration path, but it is important to explore it and to establish a relationship with patent attorneys and IT attorneys to find the proper way to protect your main asset, which quite often is any material asset. That said, I think we finished our presentation. I would give back the floor to Anna.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gautier and Camilla, for your very interesting and insightful presentation. And we are moving forward to tax. So we are going to touch upon some tax aspects, and I'm over to Alberto Sandala and Camilla Christie. So the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Anna, and thank you everyone for participating to this session. Very few words from my side, then I will leave the floor to my colleague Camilla. I just wanted to introduce the fact that we will shortly run an overview of the main tax incentives that Italian tax law grants to innovative startups, and we will also deal with what an innovative startup is in the Italian tax environment. Just wanted to say that the Italian tax environment may be seen as quite complex compared to other European member states. However, much has been done, especially in recent years, and there are currently government is working on new incentives, which we will see whether will be approved or not, today we will discuss about what is currently available. But I wanted to share the view that further incentives may be introduced in the next future. And on top of that, you have also to consider that even despite probably having a not so good reputation outside Italy, the Italian tax administration has various channels of sharing in advance issues which even foreign taxpayers may have. So it is possible to engage with a discussion with the tax authorities before deciding to open a company in Italy or to accede to certain tax favorable regimes. Having said that, by way of introduction, I will leave the floor to Camilla, who will discuss about the requirements for an innovative startup in Italy. Thank you.
Thank you, Alberto. Hello, everyone. We can start by saying that the concept of it was born in Italy in 2012 with the Decreto Crescita, which is a legislative decree, in particular the 179 legislative decree. And we can say that with this decree, in this decree, there are both subjective and objective requirements that these new companies must meet in order to be qualified as a startup company, and in particular, innovative startup companies. Our DLA colleagues in Rome have already anticipated these requirements, so we can do a quick recap of them. So we can say that this innovative startup must be a joint stock company or also established as a cooperative that it is new or has been established for no more than 5 years. And of course, it has to be resident in Italy or in another country of the European Economic Area, but has to have its production site or branch in Italy. Moreover, this new company has to have an annual turnover of less than 1 million euros. And of course, the main objective requirement is that the core business of this new company must be the development, the production and marketing of high technology products and services. So going to the subjective requirements, we can say that in order to be qualified as an innovative startup, at least one of three these subjective requirements had to be met. In particular, a certain amount has to be invested in research and development, and then this new company has to employ highly qualified personnel, and then it has to be the owner, custodian, or licensee of at least one patent or holder of a registered software. So if this new company meet this subjective and objective requirement, it will be qualified as an innovative startup, and so it can access to some tax incentives. So we can skip to the next slide, please. Thank you. So basically, these tax incentives consist in for individuals investing in this new company, consist in a personal income tax deduction, which means that there is a direct deduction applied to the amount of tax that this individual has to pay. And for legal entities, so for legal persons, there is a CIT-based deduction, which means so the corporate income tax deduction, which means that there is a reduction applied to the base on which the tax will be calculated. In particular, we can say that for individuals, this tax deduction is up to 30% of the amount invested in venture capital of innovative startups, up to a minimum, up to a maximum annual investment of 1 million euros, and the same for legal entities. So there is this 30% CIT-based deduction based on the investment made in this innovative startup, up to a maximum annual ceiling of 1.8 million euros. These benefits are available up to a total amount of contribution not exceeding 15 million for each innovative startup. And we have to underline that the investment must be maintained in this new company for at least 3 years. So there is this lockup period under penalty of losing this type of facilitation. So under the penalty of losing the tax incentive. We can skip to the next slide. Saying that for individuals there is an alternative to the ordinary 30% deduction, in particular for investments made from the 1st January 2020. There is the possibility to access to a personal income tax deduction of 50%. Up to a maximum annual investment of 100,000. So the maximum personal income tax deduction that can be provided for each tax period is equal to 50,000 euros. And for investors, in order to access to this type of facility, they have to submit an application on the special IT platform on the website of the Ministry of Economic Development. Furthermore, we can skip to the next slide, and by saying that there are some other interesting tax incentives for innovative startups in Italy. In particular, it is provided an exemption for both tax and contribution purposes of labor income coming from the allocation of financial instruments. So when financial instruments are used to remunerate the qualified labor and consulting services. Furthermore, there is in Italy we have unfavorable discipline for the so-called shell companies and the companies that are in systemic losses. And for the innovative startup, this discipline does not apply. So it is interesting. And then there is also another interesting tax incentive, which is the total exemption for capital gains realized through the selling of both qualified and non-qualified shareholdings in these innovative startups. So exemption for capital gains. Coming to the end, we can say that lastly is provide a tax credit for in the case that these innovative startups invest in some particular sectors, and in particular the renewable energy sector, the environment sector and the health sector. So for investment in this type of sectors, from the 1st January 2020, a tax credit is provided. So a tax credit for investments in this sector. So in order to create innovative solutions for the realizations of advanced technological tools and services, basically. So it is that.
Thank you very much, Camilla and Alberto, for your presentation. There is one question or a couple of questions to you, but we will try to address those questions after our last part. Last but not least is employment. And I'm over to Maria Chiara Lamera to give us some insights into the employment area in Italy. So the floor is yours, Maria.
Thank you, Anna, and hi, everyone. Thank you for attending this workshop. Just like my colleagues, I will go briefly through the main aspect of Italian employment law, but you will be able to find further information in the slides that I think we will provide you at the end of this session. So starting from the basic, it's important to say that in Italy, a company can hire either an employee under an employment contract or a worker under an independent contract. The main difference between employee and independent contractor are two. The first one is the level of protection, and the second one is the level of freedom. Indeed, an employee is granted with a higher level of protection, for example, against unfair dismissal or during special leaves such as wedding, marriage leaves or maternity leaves, and also during the absence for sickness, while the employee is granted with the full remuneration for a certain period of time. On the other hand, we have the independent contractor who is not granted with the same level of protection, but who enjoy a higher level of freedom because he is able to manage his own activity and to organize his week and his holidays and his working time. So moving to the next slide, we can see which are the main powers and duties of the employers towards the employees. As mentioned, employees are not granted with the same level of freedom because they are subject to the power of control and direction of the employer, who can give to the employee directives on how to manage their activity, how to perform their job, how many days per week they have to work, and so on. The way the employer manage these powers is the disciplinary powers. Is the power through which the employer can manage the activity of the employee, also with the chance to have sanction towards the employees, even with the dismissal, but we will see it later on during the presentation. Against the powers, there are the main duties of the employers, who are, of course, to pay the salaries and all the indemnities at the end of the employment contract, so severance pay and further indemnities due to the employee. Then we have the duty of protection, because the employer has the duty to protect and to grant the health and safety of the employee during the employment relationship. And third, there is the duty of the employer to inform employees on certain events of the companies, such as collective dismissal or transfer of undertakings. Just one last thing on the powers. The power of control is subject to specific limits, so the control cannot be over any aspect of the activity of the employee, for example, through cameras or other instruments. In case the employer needs to install cameras, there is the need to have a specific authorization through the Italian labor entity or after an agreement with the trade unions. So moving to the next slide, I just want to highlight which are the main kind of employment contract in Italy. We have the permanent contract, which is opposite to the fixed term, which is up to 24 months. We have a full-time contract, usually 30 hours per week, and a part-time contract, which can be vertical or horizontal, depending on how the activity is split during the week, if between a couple of days or half of the days each day of the week. Then we have internship. In Italy, we can only have internship for a fixed term period and only after specific agreement, either with the university or specific entity which has been authorized by the ministry to enter into those kind of agreements. And last, we have an apprenticeship. This is a permanent contract, but has a specific purpose, which is to teach the employee the activity who will perform during the employment relationship. So usually the apprenticeship starts with a lower level, and during the relationship, the apprentice learn the skills which are needed to perform a job under a higher level of the collective bargaining agreement. So moving to the next slide. As I mentioned, in Italy, we have the permanent contract opposite to fixed term contract. During a permanent employment contract, each party can terminate the relationship by respecting the period called notice period. Please note that while the employee can always resign, the employer can dismiss the employee only under specific cases, but we will see them later on. Opposite to the permanent contract, we have fixed term contract. Fixed term contract regulation has been often amended by Italian legislation, but right now the maximum duration is 12 months, which can be increased up to 24 months, but only under specific conditions. Those conditions are listed under the collective bargaining agreement, which is a contract basically signed between the employer organization and the trade unions, and that regulate most part of the employment contract. So basically, like 90% of the employment contract is regulated under the collective bargaining agreement. Please note that the sanction in case of breach of fixed term regulation are very high. Because there is the risk for the employer to be condemned to the conversion of the contract from a fixed term to a permanent one. Moving to the next. As I mentioned, I just wanted to give you an overview of how is regulated the working time in Italy. So as I mentioned, we have a normal time per week, which is 40 hours. A part-time is a part of the normal time, and the salary is reduced accordingly. Then we have overtime. The maximum duration of overtime per year is 250 hours, and the employee is granted with an increase of the normal salary for the overtime performed. And then we have daily rest, which is 11 hours, at least one day, at least 24 hours every 7 days of the week, and holidays, which are up to at least 4 weeks per year, but 2 of those have to be mandatory, enjoyed by the employee during the 12 months. So moving to the next slide. As I mentioned before, one kind of difference between independent contractor and employee is the protection for special leave or justified absence. Here you can see the main reason for absences for an employee, which are, of course, sickness and accidents. During this period, the employee is granted with a normal salary for a maximum period, which is usually 6 months, but is always set for under the collective bargaining agreement. Then we have paternity and maternity leaves. The paternity leaves is mandatory for 10 days, while the maternity leave is mandatory for 5 months. We have also parental leave, which is not mandatory and can be up to 11 months. And then we have a personal leave. They are listed under the collective bargaining agreement again, but mainly they are for study, for marriage, for grief, and other events specifically listed under the CBA. So moving to the dismissal, as I was saying before, in Italy, while an employee can always resign, just as to the respect the notice period, the employer is not able to decide when to dismiss the employee. The dismissal can only occur under a written form. Any dismissal coming from an oral notice of the employer is always null and void. And the dismissal can only occur for three main reasons. So we have just cause, subjective reason, and objective reason. Just cause and subjective reason are both for disciplinary conduct of the employee. So they both coming because of a specific act performed by the employee who was unfair or unlawful, and then the employer decided to condemn and to sanction it. They both need to follow a specific disciplinary procedure. And while subjective reason requires the employer to grant the employee a notice period or the indemnity in lieu of notice, just cause does not require any notice period, because the conduct of the employee is so serious that cannot allow prosecution, even temporary, of the employment relationship. Then we have the third kind of dismissal, which is for objective reason. This is the only dismissal that came because of business-related reason of the employer. In these circumstances, the employer shall not only prove the effective business need, but also shall provide any evidence of the fact that he was not able to relocate the employee in a different position. Please note that in Italy, we always have the burden of the proof for dismissal on the employer. So in any of these cases, the employer shall provide any evidence of fact and circumstances that provide that made him decide to have the dismissal of the employee. So moving to the next slide, I just want to tell you that, as I mentioned, the oral dismissal is null and void, and there are other kind of dismissal which are always null and void under Italian legislation. Those are the dismissal of employee on maternity leave and on paternity leave. Not only during the period of the leave, but from the beginning of the pregnancy to the first year of the child for women, and from the birth to the first year of the child for the men. Also, is null and void the dismissal of a woman after the marriage for the first year from the marriage, because there is this orientation of the Supreme Court, who said that a dismissal occurred after the marriage for woman can be discriminatory, because can be seen as a reason to avoid any maternity leave for the woman. So last this kind of dismissal who is null and void is the dismissal based on discrimination and retaliation. So for sexual orientation, race, political orientation, and so on. Last, I will leave you with this slide on the consequences of unlawful dismissal. I just want to highlight that in Italy, it's important to distinguish two kind of employee and two kind of companies. So employees are hired after 7 March 2015, granted with a specific level of protection, and employees who belongs to company bigger than 15 employees are granted with a specific protection. So the higher level of protection against unlawful dismissal is the reinstatement. And then we have indemnities, which can be from 3 months for smaller companies up to 36 months for bigger companies. but you will be provided with this slide, so you will have the chance to look into more detail of these consequences of unlawful dismissal.
Thank you very much, Maria Chiara. That was the last part of our presentation, and I have a question to you, Hendrik. Do we have some time to address a couple of questions regarding tax, or we leave them?
Yes, please. That would be very nice if you could address the questions that were posed.
Okay, so we have a couple of questions to the tax team, to Alberta and Camila. What about tax incentives for innovative services provision? Startups can have innovations in services provision or delivery.
Well, thank you, Konstantin, for this question, which is, I think, kind of linked to your second question. So basically, in our presentation today, we dealt with the incentives available to startup investors. Why we did that? Because that's the regime which the Italian tax law grants to startups. Having said that, there are other tax incentives regimes which startups may benefit of, which, however, are not granted just to startups, but generally speaking, to any company. One of these regimes provides for a tax credit for research and development activities. So it may be the case that if a startup renders certain services to its clients, and those services are rendered through certain research and development expenditures in which the startups incurred, then those activities, provided that a set of requirements are met, can grant the startup a tax credit, which can be used, of course, to offset tax liabilities. That's, I think, the answer to your first and your second questions. Another incentives which is linked to the previous one that I mentioned is the IP box regime, which again is structured as a now is currently structured as a tax credit for qualified expenditure. So it kind of overlaps with the credit for research and development activities. So I think that those two are the most relevant incentives, tax incentives, which startups, as well as other companies, may be able to meet.
Thank you very much, Alberto. And we have one more question to Maria Chiara regarding employment. What are major economic and tax legal benefits for women on maternity leave in Italy, like percentage, salary capped, etc.?
Yeah, the maternity leave in Italy is mandatory for 5 months. For the 5 months of mandatory maternity leave, the salary is granted as full. So the mother absent for maternity leave receive the ordinary salary, 100%. Then we have the parental leave, which is not mandatory. So after the end of the first 5 months, if the woman or if the father wants to stay in leave to take care of the child, the salary is reduced. So if I'm not wrong, the first couple of months is 80% of the salary, and then it decreases again to the 30% of the salary. And at the end of the parental leaves, there is the chance to remain absent from work, but there is no salary granted to the employee. That said, from the salary point of view, in terms of economic and tax incentives, actually it depends on the actual legislation, and they are amended any year by the government. So I cannot give you a specific answer on that.
Thank you very much, Maria Chiara. I think that's all from our side. Thank you for being with us today. And as Abby wrote, we will share our slides with the participants, so you will be able to look through the information that you received from the experts. And over to you, Henrik.
Thank you so much, Anna, and the whole team at DLA Piper. Really insightful, wide, and I'm sure a really helpful resource to all the Ukrainian startups that are looking to expand to the Italian market. So thank you so much for that. We've actually reached the end of today's session, and I would like to, of course, extend a great appreciation to all the attendees and all of the panelists that are still with us. And just as a final reminder, you can still apply to the programs. The next deadline is on the 21st of October. And there is also a few openings up until the 25th of November with the deep accelerator programs if you're working in the deep tech sector. And on that note, I wish you all a great rest of the week, and thank you so much for joining today.